Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. I am Tony Squares. As always, I'm joined by a man that has been in this industry for 10 years, covering this industry for 10 years. He hasn't been in it. He has never taken a bump in his life, but Mr. Robert Lentini himself. My friend Robert, are we excited for the road to WrestleMania with two wrestling shows, a full week of wrestling in both promotions that really went nowhere? Am I mad to say that this week of wrestling went nowhere?
Well, I think certainly in AEW kind of went nowhere, but WWE had some moments. There's some things to be excited about. We're on the road to WrestleMania, but you look at the main event of this week's Raw, it's Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax in a match that means nothing. They're just stalling and wasting time until they get to Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. So I see your point. It's a lot of filler, a lot of nothingness going on right now in the world of wrestling.
But there is a little bit of building, and we're going to be talking about those builds, especially on the road to WrestleMania during this show. Talk about The Rock, Roman, Cody. We'll talk about what happened on AEW. Mercedes Moné coming out, calling herself Mercedes Money, and then Moné in the video package. That was a little weird. Ospreay's out there. Okada wins a belt. Christian and Edge had a fight. Adam Copeland had a fight. And we also will be predicting who's going to win those AEW tag team titles in the 17th straight tournament for AEW television. I'm excited for what we're about to talk about here. Let's dive right in and start off with WWE, because that's the hottest thing going right now. Absolutely. Even though I'm the AEW fan, you cannot deny the road to WrestleMania, especially in that main event, has been awesome. And it's all because, really, what The Rock is doing on social media. Every Friday now, he's releasing a decade-long promo of him just standing in one spot, repeating himself multiple times and saying some of the funniest stuff he's ever said, attacking everything about Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. My friend, this week, past Friday, we had another one, and it led to some really fun stuff on the show. So what happened on Friday with The Rock?
Well, first he cuts one, like as you said, one of his now infamous social media promos. He blasts Cody Rhodes' mother, but my favorite part of his promo was he brought up Cody crying about handing the title to his mother, and he just goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Just the absolute best heel voice. Take a listen to this.
Are you fucking kidding me? You start fucking crying? You start crying? That's how you respond? No wonder all your fans are crybabies. I can't give the belt to Dusty, but I can give it to my mama. I can give it to my mommy. My mommy. Shut the fuck up.
And then later that night on SmackDown, we got the full return of Hollywood Rock. We got the Rock concert. He wasn't playing a guitar. I wish he was doing that, but that whole entire segment was one of the best rock segments, the rock segments I've seen in a long time. And I'm so glad, and like I've said for about 20 times now, so thankful that we got that We Want Cody movement and everybody flipped out and they made that initial mistake because they changed course, and now we got the best version of The Rock we've seen in a long time. Did you catch that promo on Friday night? What did you think of The Rock?
I caught the promo on social media. I caught the Rock concert segment. How could I not? I actually like that he wasn't playing the guitar, because those two musicians with him really were able to flow with him and make it actually a fun and catchy tune. I loved all of it,
jazz
including him just going after John Morant. That got some of the biggest boos I've ever heard in an arena.
Man.
It was perfectly done by The Rock. I loved every second. And then what do we have? Because it's wrestling, you have to keep building on this. We have Cody coming out and retorting. This happened on Monday Night Raw. What did Cody do?
Well, Cody, for the first time, he didn't cry. He actually stood there. He did not cry. He did not get emotional. He went right at The Rock, and he said he has little dick syndrome, which is a pretty funny line. But also, he went at The Rock, but there was really no mention of Roman Reigns. And I guess this is what the bigger conversation I want to bridge into here. There was no mention of Roman Reigns other than they're having a face-to-face this Friday night. And then The Rock on the final episode of Raw before WrestleMania is scheduled to be in New York for that episode of Raw. I don't know if Roman Reigns is going to be there, but they're advertising The Rock already. It feels like The Rock is the biggest thing heading into WrestleMania, and not Roman Reigns, and not Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. No longer is it about Cody Rhodes finishing his story. It's about, look how great The Rock is. And that kind of is a problem for the main event, don't you think?
Yeah, because as we know right now, I mean, as we would expect, The Rock is not in the main event of WrestleMania Night 2. Right. It's the final match of WrestleMania will likely be Cody versus Roman in some capacity. And again, as you said, I believe The Rock is overshadowing Roman a little bit here. And it's no fault to The Rock. He's doing his job. He's getting people interested. He's getting the clicks. He's getting the shares. He's getting all that stuff. And Cody is fighting back with it. I did love Cody saying everything he did on Monday Night Raw and saying the word asshole, even though it was bleeped out. You could perfectly see the lip reading of it. It was quite interesting that they bleeped the word out, but keep the camera on Cody during it. Lip readers everywhere knew what he was saying. But the build is really now Rock versus Cody. And again, we're moments away from WrestleMania. There's only so much TV time left. Roman really needs to do something on Friday, and it better not just be the Bloodline standing in the ring, raising their finger, saying, acknowledge me. There really needs to be something that happens for Roman to get this push here, to get this shine from The Rock, because the eyeballs are on him, and they're not on Roman. He's maybe the fourth least important person in that tag match at this point.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Seth Rollins is giving him a run for his money and least important, but you're right. It should be Roman Reigns number one and then everybody else because he's the champion. He's the champion. Rollins is the world heavyweight champion. Roman Reigns is the champion. That's the main
champion
belt
for a
everybody.
decade.
Yeah, it feels like it at this point, but yes. No, but what needs to happen on this Friday is Roman Reigns needs to say something to slight The Rock or something to, even though it's just a promo between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, he needs to assert himself as the tribal chief again. I know The Rock acknowledged him as his tribal chief, but that was just a blip on the radar. It feels like years ago now. And also The Rock seemingly can do whatever he wants. He's on the board of directors. He can swear in promos. He can swear online. Talent backstage are complaining about that as a report came out this week that they can't swear. How come The Rock can swear? So it seems like The Rock is asserting his dominance everywhere, and Roman Reigns is just cowering in the corner. So he needs to step it up this Friday night. I agree.
I think he needs to do something. He needs to get his name back into the title picture. He's the man with the title. Like it's ridiculous that we're talking about this at this point. But you bring up a good point about other wrestlers so-and-so complaining. I don't believe anyone's put a face to this yet, but it's basically complaining through back channels that The Rock is allowed to use profanity and say what he wants on social media and in the ring when the other wrestlers have rules that are set on them of what they can and cannot do. Now, again, this could be just people making stuff up, or there could be fire to this smoke. How does that make you feel if there are some wrestlers out there complaining about The Rock's special treatment during promos?
Well, I think they have a pretty damn good point because his promos have been great on social media because his language is so ridiculous, because he's calling Cody Rhodes' dog a piece of shit. That's what makes it great. That's what makes it epic. Nobody else can do that but The Rock. That is a bit of a double standard. But again, he is The Rock. He's also like the most famous person outside of wrestling on the planet. So I don't know how you can tell him to take it easy. You either just go full bore and allow everybody to do it, or just don't have anyone do it. Because if you allow The Rock to do something that nobody else on the roster can, it's just a recipe for disaster and backstage turmoil. And we already seen how that can ruin things in AEW. We don't need that in WWE now.
Thank you for the unnecessary shot at AEW. But I do want to say, you said they have a good point. What I want to say is, if you're complaining about The Rock getting special treatment for being able to swear in promos, like that's what we're holding stuff up over. I have the world's smallest violin to play for you. If you desperately need, then the only thing you need to get over is to say the F word or the S word or the C word in a promo, then you shouldn't be in wrestling. I'm sorry. You need to have more ingenuity to be able to go to the next level and be able to get yourself over, because we're going to talk about him a little bit later, so I don't want to dive into it now, but look at what Drew McIntyre is doing on social media right now. Right. That man is getting himself over, saying words that a nun would be okay with. All right. And then he's doing just a fine job on social media of saying what he wants to say and getting his point across and being a threatening heel and really taking Seth Rollins down 72 pegs without saying a cuss word. So if you're mad that The Rock gets special treatment, gets free reign, you need to be better at your job. That's just my 2 cents on the whole topic. Am I a little overboard for saying that?
No, I actually, I kind of agree with you, but I think if The Rock wants to, not piss off the entire locker room, if he's going to be around all the time, I think he'd want to, have everybody on the same level. But I see your point. You shouldn't be worried about that because The Rock's going to bring in more money than anybody else on the roster can ever even imagine. So it's kind of ridiculous to be complaining about The Rock, but also in the same breath, it's like, why can't Seth Rollins drop an F-bomb on social media too? He could use it. Seth Rollins could use anything to get more over, but I understand your point. I guess The Rock is a special case of his own, and everyone else should just up their game. I guess I agree with you on that.
And we're getting there to the road to WrestleMania. As you said, it's right around the corner. We will be doing shows to preview WrestleMania. We will be likely doing shows after WrestleMania to recap WrestleMania. I'm sick of saying WrestleMania at this point, but I'm very excited for the 2 nights that we have, and we have a lot of fun stuff planned for you. So feel free, give us a like, give us a subscribe, help this channel grow, because we're just going to be producing more content from an AEW fan and a WWE fan that both could not make it in the wrestling business at Wrestlers, so we decided to talk about it instead. Not that we ever tried. Let's move on to the other promotion, though, because stuff did happen in AEW, and I am the AEW fan, so I'm not going to start this off. I want to kick it over to old Robert here. Mercedes Moné. I will say this. I was going to try to be better. I was going to try to be nicer, but this AEW Dynamite that we had in Canada for the first hour and a half was the same script that we had in Boston. Mercedes Moné came out at the top, gave a promo. We had a couple of matches in between, title matches where titles changed hands. Will Ospreay came out at the start of the second hour with Tony Schiavone to deliver another promo about Bryan Danielson. I don't know, man. I don't know. But Mercedes Moné, let's start there. What did you think about this entrance of Mercedes Moné's character?
Look, I have a few issues with Mercedes Moné already, which is not good. But like I love Sasha Banks. I love her as a performer. She's great. A terrific signing, going to bolster AEW's women division. Get all the compliments out of the way before I talk about her promo tonight and what I don't like about it. I thought it was a lot of the same of last week. And I guess my main issue is that I can already tell she's a natural heel. And this is like her desperately trying to like connect, and I'm here for you guys. We're doing this. We're doing that. This is my dream. I want to be in AEW. It's just like a lot of political. We're running for office. It sounds like to me. And then we got Willow Nightingale, who's a natural baby face, and she's kind of cast as a heel. And I don't, it's like just I'm watching these segments. I'm like, these characters are all great, but they're cast in the wrong roles. It's annoying the hell out of me. But you can't debut Mercedes Moné as a heel, I guess. They did it with Okada. So you can't do that with Moné as well. But I just think we're going to have Moné as a heel in like 3 months, because I don't think this is going to work. If her feud is against Julia Hart and Sky Blue, that's just not big time. That's not big business to me. That's just a meh feud for a meh title that nobody talks about since Jade Cargill lost it. So that's my problem, is just there's a lot of work to be done with Mercedes Moné in that women's division, and that's not Moné's fault. But her presentation, her entrance is great. The CEO chant is great, but there's just a lot of like fluff in her promos, a lot of just nothing. And then we get an attack. So that's my main issue with Mercedes Moné's presentation. She's a natural heel. They're pigeonholing her as a baby face and not giving her a really great story to work with as well. What are your thoughts on Mercedes Moné so far?
I thought that this week was a lot better than last week, but it was the same week. And I believe if you started Mercedes Moné off in Boston with exactly what happened this week, that should have been the start. I was very angry last week about how they presented Mercedes Moné because nothing happened. This week's stuff actually happened. And I understand you saying about how the roles should be reversed in what they're doing, but I do like how they're playing into Willow was the one that injured her, even though it was a fluke injury, and we're going to play back that, and Mercedes Moné wants to get her revenge. I like that. It's not a babyface move to get your revenge, but I do like that. I also feel like Chris Statlander, the person that I said Mercedes Moné should have the first feud with an AEW, is just on the side, not even in the camera shot when we're watching these two go at it. That hurts me, but I like that they're having Willow versus Mercedes Moné. Adding in Julia Hart and Sky Blue, though, that seems just like extra characters at this point. And again, just like in WWE, the champion, Julia Hart, is the least important person in the ring at that point, which, again, I feel you. There's a lot of work to be done that needs to be done. I like that Stokely Hathaway's getting a piece of it. But I am intrigued at a Willow versus Mercedes Moné match. I would like the roles reversed, but again, even when Willow Nightingale had the chair over her head, I never once believed she was going to use it. Did you?
Right. No, but I guess this is just a bigger picture thing that we can just talk about for a minute, because it just popped in my head. There's a lot of this stuff, like they're building on stuff that happened in other promotions. It happened with the Ospreay stuff too. It's like in New Japan, it's like a lot of these people that you're trying to market to here don't watch New Japan and don't know about what you're talking about. So that's like the Willow Nightingale playing off the injury, like maybe half the people watching know about that. So you got to do a good, you got to do a really good job of explaining the backstory, maybe seeing if you get footage of the, like, you have to like go above and beyond to make sure everybody knows there's a backstory. And I did that, I guess, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like Mercedes Moné is a big star, but I don't know how much of a huge star she will be to the casual fans here. We can talk about the ratings. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we were going to talk about that a little bit later, but we do want to talk about sort of the bigger picture problem with AEW, because a few weeks ago, my headline for AEW was Mercedes Moné, Okada, and Ospreay. We are entering the new era of AEW, and obviously after the first 2 weeks, we'll wait to see the ratings, which I hate talking about from this week's Dynamite, but clearly, it's not taking off like a rocket ship quite yet, and that we thought it would. And what can they do to take that forward? And I agree with you. A lot of people know who Sasha Banks is. No one knows who Okada or Ospreay are unless you're a wrestling fan. And again, you need more than wrestling fans to watch and be engaged with your product in order to grow. And how do you do that? I thought Ospreay's promo was an excellent way of getting into that, because you watch that guy and you immediately want to watch more of him.
Yeah.
You see Okada in the ring, you immediately want to watch more of that. Although I will say him and Eddie Kingston did not make a good marriage in the ring. But him with the Elite on the side, I think that's a very fun way to get more of it. But I'm not sure it's going to happen overnight. I believe it's going to need to be a very slow process to get to the level that they need to get to. And I'm okay with waiting to see that happen. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but there's a lot that needs to be done to get us there. And it's a lot of the stuff that's not being done. Like you said, explaining what the injury was, where it came from. They had that little video package from Mercedes Moné, but we didn't even see the injury. Maybe she didn't want to show that, and I understand that. But again, making us care about her injury and making us care about like her road to recovery, how long it took her to get there. She said it in the promo, show me the videos of that, of her struggling to figure it all out. Like, even ham it up and refilm it if you don't have actual footage of it. It's a fucking fake wrestling show, like let us live in it for a little bit and build up for it, because AEW for far too long has relied on the great in-ring wrestling to carry the entire promotion. And I'm getting to a point now where I need more of that. Go.
Not to cut you off, but I got to that point like a year and a half ago. Like that's the whole thing. That's my whole thing. They have the great wrestling. They have Roderick Strong's a great wrestler, but when you have him in a neck brace screaming at him, like it's just like,
see, I like that shit.
Yeah, I do too. But then they're trying to make him a serious guy now, and it doesn't work because we just saw him in a neck brace. But but my problem with this whole thing is like like Mercedes Moné arrives as a star. I'm going to branch into another thing now. I want to talk about Wardlow, because that happened tonight too, and we're going to talk about that right now. Adam Cole cut this little promo thing, and he talked about Wardlow saying that he's going to be safeguarding the titles we have, the ROH tag titles. That's what he's focused on. And Wardlow, like, he let him down because he didn't win that world championship. When Mercedes Moné arrives as a star, Wardlow should have been a star 2 years ago. They don't know how to build him. That's my problem. It's like if they don't know how to build any new stars, and I just went all over the place on this.
It's okay. I mean, when anger gets a hold of us, Robert, we tend to talk out of our ass, and I get that completely. And but the nugget of truth is there. The ability to build off of something other than in-ring ability is something that AEW has not figured out yet. Right. And I don't know how deep the Tony Khan pockets are. I don't know. I guarantee you they ain't making money at AEW. I guarantee you they are selling tickets and doing well and not losing everything, but they are definitely operating at a loss right now, as most companies do when they're just starting off. Eventually, though, they need to hit that next level, and I'm not sure how they do. And what I would like to see, and stuff that I think they should have been doing from the beginning, and I really only noticed this because it's stuff WWE is just now doing. We have seen wrestling be captured the same way for 30 years. We have seen a wrestling television show be shot and presented the same way for 30 years. And just in the last few weeks, we've seen WWE experiment with some camera shots and some oneers where you're following Sami Zayn into the back. He runs to the Miz, and they're having a conversation, and then they come out for their entrance, and the camera doesn't cut away. We stay with them the whole time. AEW should be doing 10,000 of these. When Vince McMahon started the XFL, they were just playing football, but the things that he did in the XFL that were different stood out, and the NFL then took from the XFL of stuff with the way they presented the games and some of the stuff they did in the games. AEW should be at the peak of innovation in how to present wrestling on a weekly basis in television. And some shit might not work. Like,
Right.
I remember the exploding barbed wire death match, and I remember never seeing something like that before. And yes, it fizzled out in the end, literally. But that got everyone excited to see. I remember the Stadium Stampede match. We had never seen something like that before. And yes, that match was on a pay-per-view, but the build to it and what we were building to was like, AEW's doing different shit. And you can do different shit every week that's not matches, but in how you present it. And they do it sometimes. And some of the times it's the most cherished AEW part when they keep playing John Moxley's intro as they're fighting against each other in whatever match, they death and destruction match, whatever it was called. Like, that stuff resonates and hits all fans, whether they're wrestling fans or new fans. And I think AEW needs to take a further leap into the darkness of stuff that might not work, but WWE has never done this. Not just matches, but how we present it. And I would love to see that as an AEW fan. So hopefully, Tony, you're listening. I know you're a subscriber.
Yeah. And also play the entrance music so everyone can hear it. It sounds like it's like played from a cell phone. Like, I don't understand what's going on with the production on this show, because they should be light years ahead of where they are. They should be innovative, like you said, and taking risks. They can afford to take risks. Darby Allin takes risks every show. The production team can take a risk here and there too. Yeah, it feels flat. It feels phoned in half the time with the production, the backstage segments. It feels like they're just standing in front of a TV screen or a graphic. It's just, that's what it is.
At this point in the company, you're not going to beat WWE. They've been doing it too long. They have too much money. So when you present something that looks and exactly like a wrestling show like WWE, you look like a lesser WWE. And it's not the people, it's not the wrestlers or the stories or anything. It's because you're not as good as them at this point at their job, because they've been doing it forever. They have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
So you have to be different. And I don't know how they do that, and I hope they figure it out soon. But speaking of different, we have another tournament to talk about in AEW. It's the tag title tournament. It's a group of titles that'll be changing hands, vacated by the retiring Sting and the oft-injured Darby Allin. We're down to 8 teams, Robert. So I would like for you to predict who you think the final is going to be and who you think is going to win. It will take place at AEW Dignity, Dynasty, Dilemma, whatever it's called. First, I'm just going to list out the teams and the matchups, and you can tell me what your final is going to be. Young Bucks versus Private Party. I don't know how Private Party got into this. We have the Undisputed Kingdom, which is Adam Cole's group of ragtag men, versus the Best Friends, which is Arn Cassidy still wrestling and never taking a week off. We have Ricky Starks and Big Bill, who had the titles before Sting and Darby took it off them, against Top Flight, who are, in my opinion, two of the coolest wrestlers out there that don't get booked to do anything. FTR is in this tournament on the other end, and they are fighting, wait for it, the Infantry, which is a team of Carly Bravo and Sean Dean. One of those names I had never heard before researching this tag team tournament bracket. Bob, you think the Infantry are going to take on Undisputed Era or whatever they're called in the final? Is that your prediction?
No. I'm really hoping. I just will lock it in as my prediction is Young Bucks versus FTR. We get that match once again. That's what I want to see. And I want to see FTR in a prominent role again. I don't understand what's going on with FTR. It's like Dax Hardwood's just losing singles matches now on Collision. Yeah. That's his role. It's just, but yeah, I would like to see FTR. I have no idea who Infantry is. And Top Flight, your point about them is great, but they always get injured. It's Dante Martin gets injured, and then Darius gets injured. Yeah. But Private Party, I thought was going to be a great team for 4 years ago, and they're in the same exact spot. So, no, I don't care about Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy anymore in Private Party. I'm done with them. So, yeah, I'm going with the Young Bucks and FTR. Go ahead.
Are you more disappointed about the teams that didn't make this tournament? Because I'm looking forward to a Young Bucks versus FTR title match. I think we could have built to that without a tournament. Yeah. There are so many teams. The Acclaim talk about it at the start of Rampage today about how they weren't in this tournament and they're angry about it. The Gun Club's there. I mean, there's a million different teams in AEW, and yet the Infantry got a spot. Yeah. Again, nothing against those two guys. We have no idea who the F they are, and this is for the Tag Team Championship. I've never seen a match of theirs on AEW television. So are you a little disappointed that the names aren't here? Or are we just is this just fodder to get to Young Bucks FTR?
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's like, why have a tournament if we know the winners, like before it starts? We know like 4 winners already. It doesn't feel like a tournament. It just feels like we're wasting time with FTR versus the infantry. We know FTR is going to win. And we know
and
best
I'm not going
friends
to
are
watch
winning.
Young Bucks Private Party. I'm telling you right now, I will
Yeah.
fast forward through that match next week.
A couple
I
good
just will.
flips. Yeah. So yeah, that's my main problem with it. You're gonna have a tournament, it feels kind of useless, and then everybody kind of just waiting to the finals or waiting until a match that maybe the Young Bucks versus United Kingdom or whatever, if they line up in the proper seatings, maybe that'll be an interesting match.
Right eventually. We're gonna have to get Adam Cole's group's name right eventually.
It's United Kingdom, right?
I don't think it's you. That's a country. How could that be called the United Kingdom?
The Undisputed Kingdom. My bad.
Undisputed Kingdom.
The United Kingdom. Yes, the UK. Adam Cole is the leader of the UK. All right, Jesus Christ.
On AEW dignitary.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now back to WWE. It's time for everyone's favorite segment. It's still real to me, damn it.
Oh God.
All right, Bob, for the 7th straight week, and this podcast has only been going for 5, you would like to talk about Chad Gable. So please, the floor is yours, my friend. What's going on in the life of Gable as the Gable turns?
Yeah, it's Chad Gable's world, and we're all just living in it right now. And I'm just very saddened and dismayed, and just very disappointed in what has happened with the Chad Gable storyline. Just a quick refresher, if you haven't been listening for the past 3 weeks, I've been ranting and raving about this. Chad Gable had an epic match with Gunther last year for the Intercontinental Championship. He lost. Chad Gable's daughter was in the front row. She broke down in tears. It was one of those magical TV moments. You cut to the daughter crying, cut back to Gable. It's like, oh my God, if Chad Gable ever gets another shot at Gunther, he's the guy to finally dethrone the ring general, because you got to have someone beat Gunther eventually. He's already set the record for longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. He's ready to move on to the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship title picture. He's ready for the next step. So you had the built-in story with Chad Gable. And then you have this gauntlet match, which seems just perfect for Chad Gable to enter the match first and go through everyone, like you said a couple weeks ago, and win the match and earn another title shot against Gunther at WrestleMania. But that's not what they did. Sami Zayn was the one who went through the entire gauntlet, beat Chad Gable to earn the title match, and it just fell flat. He's done nothing since returning as a final entrant of the Men's Royal Rumble, and then all of a sudden he just is in the gauntlet match and wins it. When Chad Gable had the better story. Now we get to this week's Raw. Now we get to why I'm kind of pissed at this point. I'm getting a little heated just talking about what Chad Gable, Sami Zayn approaches Chad Gable backstage. He's like, hey, when they get into their, like, he's just tried to have a conversation with him, and Chad Gable's kind of flipping. He's like, yeah, man, congratulations. Like, he doesn't want to talk to him. Very obvious. And Sami Zayn's like, I have a daughter. I have a family. People want to see me do great things too. People get disappointed in my losses too. Don't act like you're the only one who's disappointed. And Gable's like, you can't beat Gunther. And Sami Zayn looked shattered, walked to the ring, signed the contract, had a little back and forth with Gunther, but it wasn't that great, that contract segment. So my thing is, are they going to have Chad Gable in this match? Are they going to have Chad Gable be a coach for Sami Zayn to try to coach him to beat Gunther? I don't want to see that. We're doing a Rocky storyline with Sami Zayn as Rocky and Chad Gable as Mickey against Drago, Gunther. I don't like that. So I don't know where they're going with this, but all of this could have been avoided if you just did the logical, rational, obvious thing and had Chad Gable win that gauntlet match. We wouldn't have Booker T on his podcast saying Sami Zayn's upset about the crowd booing him. He doesn't understand the negative reaction. I don't understand how anybody doesn't understand the negative reaction. Everybody just wanted Chad Gable to win. The man's never had a moment. He's got shitty gimmick after shitty gimmick, crappy tag team after crappy tag team. Give him a moment, and they decided not to. And now they're kind of trying to doing damage control, if you will, to try to make that segment make sense, make that decision make sense to have Sami Zayn win the gauntlet match. And I'm not happy with the direction that they're going, and Gunther deserves better. There's my rant. What do you think about the Intercontinental Championship picture? Do you think they made the wrong decision by having Sami Zayn win that gauntlet match last week?
No, if we, I don't think I need to share my opinion on it, because if we add any more time dedicated to this podcast to the Intercontinental Championship, it'll be the most time ever spent than any match that has ever been an Intercontinental Championship. I will say, are you happy you got it all out? Because I am not allowing you to talk about this next week.
Oh, we will be talking about this next week in some form, but I'm happy I got this out now. Yeah, but I will be talking about it next week somehow. I'll shoehorn it in. Don't you worry.
Let's move on to the social superstars of the week because, my friend, as you know, wrestling is not always fought in the ring. Now, in the era of social media, wrestling is fought in the streets, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. These guys taking stuff into account, what they can do themselves. And I believe we have two superstars this week. Obviously, The Rock, we talked about him at the top. That's different. He's too good for this segment. He wouldn't want to be a part of this segment. This is a mid-Carter segment. But who's the first social superstar of the week in your regard, my friend?
Well, I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre. I know I mentioned him last week. I said he would make the segment, and he has this week just for his antics against Seth Rollins. He posted this video on social media. Take a look.
Oh, killed the one. Max, you almost fell. Go ahead, Max. Go ahead. Oh, Lord have mercy.
And now in every interview that Drew McIntyre has, he's staying in character and saying that Seth Rollins is overlooking him. He's focused on the bloodline when he should be focused on the World Heavyweight Championship. And it's just perfect. He's staying in character on social media. He's not posting stupid things. He's not liking things that he shouldn't. He's staying in character, which is a lost art on social media. And that's why he gets my social media star of the week.
Yeah, continuously. One of the best follows out there in the world of wrestling. Totally. And again, we still don't know what his contract status is with WWE, and I am begging him to come on over to AEW because that promotion needs that man. But my social superstar of the week is someone that I never thought I'd be talking about again, honestly. It's Ronda Rousey. Because apparently she's promoting a book right now. I believe it's an autobiography type thing. And there's an excerpt that came out of the book that has made the rounds on social media. She's talking about how pay-per-views are held everywhere in the WWE, talking about her time in the WWE. And just catch with the aside that she sent someone's way here. Talking about the pay-per-views, how they have them everywhere as well. And I'm quoting her now, as well as now twice a year in Saudi Arabia. A nation that restricts the rights of women in a way that I'm certain Vince McMahon wishes he could. That, my friends, is a heck of a quote, Ronda, and I applaud you for it. More people, because again, Ronda Rousey is a name that still carries a lot of weight outside of the world of wrestling. And so for her to come out and say something like that, even if it's just an aside in her book, that'll be written down and printed and bought and sold, and you can look at that till the end of time. She said that about Vince McMahon, and I applaud her for it. That's all I wanted to say.
Absolutely.
It's the only social superstar I had. You got anything to say on Ronda?
No, she was a little underwhelming as a WWE superstar, but she's true to herself, and I respect that, and she speaks her mind, and you have to respect it. Not too many people will go out on a limb and take a shot at Vince McMahon like that, whether they're employed by WWE or not. She did it, so kudos to her.
And now we're finishing with the gimmicks of the week. This is when we talk about little things that don't deserve a full segment, but still need a little bit of a mention. Our favorite gimmick matches of the week. And the first one, Bob, I'm sending off to you, and you don't know the name of this until I'm running it at you right now. It's the CM Punk Get Well Soon of the week. Who got injured this week, my friend?
Well, unfortunately, it was SmackDown GM Nick Aldis in a freak accident. He said on social media, he just didn't explain what happened, but he tore his bicep. So I don't know if he's going to be missing time, but Nick Aldis has been excellent as the SmackDown GM since he joined WWE last October. Get well soon, Mr. Aldis. I hope to see you on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, best in the world, my friend. And now for the Max Dupree dummy of the week. Listen, it's not really fair to call Darby Allin a dummy, but he is not climbing Mount Everest because he got injured by the Gun Club, somehow broke his foot during a match. This is a man who had open wounds on his back, stuff wrong with his neck, was about to climb Mount Everest after jumping through a pane of glass, and now broke his foot in the final match before he went off. And again, the angle of that whole entire thing, weren't they hitting him with like a chair afterwards to break his ankle or something? And did it actually happen? I don't understand how he broke his foot, but now he is not climbing Mount Everest, and he'll be gone for a foreseeable amount of time. What's going on, Bob?
I have no idea. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. I've said it multiple times. It's kind of a weird strategy to take the world's greatest risks before you take the world's greatest risk and climb Mount Everest, and it bit him in the ass. I mean, what can you say? That's just karma pushing the envelope too much, but he needs a break in general. So I'm actually kind of glad he needs to sit down and like figure out maybe some of these risks are a little too much, but get well soon to Darby Allin as well. The CM Punk get well soon to Darby Allin as well.
And then finally, it's the Jobber of the Week. We're going back to WWE. Bob, who's the Jobber of the Week?
It's the great Indus Sher, if that's how you say their name, the Veer Mahan and Sangha. Veer Maha, they had vignettes for that guy for like a year, said Veer is coming, and he just never showed up. Well, he's not coming to WrestleMania because he lost. Indus Sher lost their qualifying match for the six-pack challenge for the title, the undisputed tag team titles of WrestleMania 2. Awesome Truth, The Miz and R-Truth, the comedy team of The Miz and R-Truth. Indus Sher, congratulations. You completely have earned this week's Jobber of the Week.
And that is it for the gimmick matches of the week. But we're not finishing the show without our headlines. We predict what the world of wrestling will be talking about at this point next week. For WWE, the headline, Bob, is
WWE is letting down Bianca Belair. I said last week, we're finally going to know what Bianca Belair is doing at WrestleMania. She's going to maybe wrestle Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill. Well, we don't know yet still, and it's right around the corner. So whatever they do from now on is not good enough. It's a 2-week slap together build for Bianca Belair, one of the brightest stars in your company, whether she's fighting for the women's tag team titles or not. Just feels slapped together. And my headline is they've let her down. What about you? What's your headline for All Elite Wrestling this week?
the AEW headline of the week next week will be Chris Jericho and Hook are the hottest thing in going in AEW. Seriously, I don't have a good headline from a really crappy week of AEW wrestling, but what the heck's going on with Chris Jericho and Hook? We saw what was happening. Hook was power slamming, German suplexing Jericho over and over again. Jericho's still alive, and then somehow gets a roll-up pin, and Hook goes on to win. And the next week, Jericho says they want to have a meeting and something special is going to happen. He's got something special to offer Hook. What the heck could Jericho honestly offer Hook at this point in order to promote and push forward any of these two guys? I'm so ready for these two guys to be so far away from each other, and yet I believe we're building to something at Dynasty with it, and I'm just hashtag over it. But that is it for the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. Another great week. We talked a lot about Chad Gable and not a lot about this week in Ryback.